Jon was having some of the biggest fights the division had ever seen for a meaningful period of time. He had some veterans with some names and some curiosity sticking around. He went through them all. Then he started to have the next crop, his crop, guys of his time around. He went through them all. He got into a very tough spot where who am I going to fight? The athleticism's there. The talent is still there. What I'm talking about is that main event attraction that can create a curiosity amongst the viewer, that can create a conversation, an argument, and a dialogue. And all you really need to have that is another known guy. The case can start to make itself as long as we know who that is. And we can have water cooler conversations and use the guy's name and have the person that we're arguing or discussing with know exactly who we're talking about. As long as we have that. So you're talking about name recognition. That's just one of those things that comes with the sport. Sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it takes some time. But that Jon's in, though, all the same. So he goes out there with Santos. And most people would just say, oh, Jon's just going to go whip this guy. But it's a different Jon, right? Don't forget, Jon is not on PEDs anymore. If we're going to punish guys and ban guys for taking performance enhancers based on the concept that those performance enhancers helped them, then we have to understand if we take those away, it's going to regress the athlete. We just have to accept that. So you're looking at a Jon Jones who has regressed. He's got to start over. Good news for Jon, even in this new chapter that he's undefeated. Oh, and by the way, he's a world champion. Things are going pretty well. Turns out Jon's pretty good, even pulled backwards a little bit. But he goes out there with Santos. He loses the first round. And I wasn't totally sure why. If Jon wasn't totally finding his mark and his target there, I did see Jon getting some air balls in. Santos gets some credit. He was pretty good at slipping. He was pretty good at moving out of the way. There was some misses there by Jon, so it took a little bit of time. But when the first round ended, went to Santos, and I don't know that anybody would complain. None of the three judges did. They all gave it to Santos. The second round becomes a lot more complicated, particularly for me, because I gave that to Santos, but, and a huge but, I would not cry foul ball. I wouldn't spend 1 ounce of energy arguing with anybody that gave it to Jon Jones. It was a very close round. There was a moment within the round where Jon Jones threw a head kick and it connected, and Santos went down. I believe the judges believe that that was a knockdown. If you look at it, there happened to be a head kick and there was a connection, but he slipped. He went down with a slip. So I did not give as much weight to that specific scenario. One judge saw it the same way I did and gave it to Santos. The other two gave it to Jones. The third round, Jon started to come on very clear for Jon Jones. The fourth round, I thought it was very clear for Jon Jones. One of the judges gave it to Santos. You'd have to explain that one to me. The fifth round, I thought was pretty clear for Santos. One judge gave it to him and two gave it to Jon Jones. So I think we were all seeing a little bit something different. By no means was there a robbery. There wasn't even enough controversy around that decision to warrant dialogue and get an immediate rematch. It was none of those things. It was a good contest. Santos, when he was coming forward, was winning those exchanges. Anytime he was backing Jon up, he was winning those exchanges. Anytime he wasn't, it was anybody's fight. It was usually Jon's fight, but Santos would still have some moments. Thought it was a very good fight, but I think under the 10-9 must system, I thought it was going to go to Santos. But you have to understand that's tough to do. And there's an expression, to beat the champion, you have to beat the champion. If it's close, the benefit goes to the champion. That expression is a bunch of crap. I don't know where that came from. Nowhere within the rules or the bylaws is that true whatsoever. There is no clause that you have to really take it to the... That is absolutely made up, and it came somewhere in the 80s. Somebody dropped that, it got coined, and it's one of those things that just stuck around. But all in all, I thought it was a good fight. I think you are seeing a Jon Jones who now people are going to... I mean, for the longest time, nobody wanted to fight him. For the longest time, everybody has said, look, I fully respect it. I see how this is going to go. And even if I am the guy that has to go fight him, then I'm going to go take my beating. When you're starting to have performances like this that are talked about amongst people about, hey, you didn't even win that. One judge even read the card, didn't think you won it. Nobody in the building of 17,000 people booed. Nobody knew. It was a close fight. One of those fights, it was just a close fight. The only problem that you have looking to the future is people then see that, right? It's the 3-minute mile. Started with the 4-minute mile. As soon as somebody sees it and goes, wait a minute, The mask is now off. As soon as one athlete takes another athlete's mask off, things can unravel quicker than they would have if that wouldn't have happened. So you're dealing with a special talent. I don't think anybody should come away with a negative thought of Jon's performance. I really don't think you should. Jon took some hard shots. He dealt with them all. Jon was tired as anybody else was. He was staying in the fight, and he was pushing the pace to the best of his ability. He was the one coming across the cage. He was the one staying there, forming the action. The big shots, the damaging shots, they all went to Santos. I just think that there's credit here that needs to go to Santos. I don't know that anybody should take away from Jon, but I will share with you, if you're Dominic Reyes or the other guys in the division, Johnny Walker, that's who I'm trying to think of. If you're one of those guys, you're probably looking at that and saying, yeah, put me in, coach.